Today's daf we're going to be learning is Gittin Daf Samachtet. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. This is not going to be a simple daf. Hopefully I'll be able to translate all the words properly. There's a lot of complicated words and remedies. The whole concept of all of this is going to be a little complicated. I will try to shed some interesting light on it by bringing some part of here that actually there's some relevant halachic, some relevance to this. I will remind everyone that this is like a warning. Please do not try this at home. People, the commentaries already say the halacha l'maaseh later on is don't follow these remedies in the Gemara. They're not necessarily proven anymore. And anyway, with that, we'll get started. Librukte, for eye disease. Lete akrabta deshev humre, uniyab shebetula. Take a scorpion that's got 7 different, that's like spotted, like a leopard with 7 different shades, which means it's already old. Rashi said, niyab shebetula, dry it in the shade, meaning not with sunlight. Nishchok tartem into kuchla, grind up 2 different types of this blue dye that they used to use for eyeshadow. V'chadam into mine, and 1 portion from the scorpion. V'limale tlata mikale b'hai ene, take 3 brushstrokes and put it on one eye. Utlata mikale b'hai ene, and put 3 on the other eye. Tfei lo limle di'ilo paka ene. Don't do any more than that, because if so, you might actually cause it to be a problem. Okay, you can at least see certain themes here that maybe are true today, which is don't do too much of anything sometimes, because too much medication can actually cause problems. Okay, next. Lishavre delila. If you have shavrire delalia, you have night blindness, meaning it's very hard for you to see specifically at nighttime. Nete shudra, or when it's dark out. Nete shudra baraka. Take a rope of animal hair. V'nesar chada karimine. Tie 1 leg of the one leg. Okay, this is a strange one. I mean, they're all kind of strange. Take a rope of animal hair. Use the rope of animal hair to tie 1 leg of this person who's sick. V'chada karimikalbe, and 1 leg of a dog. V'nitr, so basically you tie the sick person's leg to a dog with this rope of animal hair. V'nitrapu yenuka haspa abatre. Have children throw shards toward this person who's tied to this dog. V'lemule, and they should say to him, Asa kalba akasa tarnagola, an old dog and a foolish tarnagol, rooster. V'ligbe shev umsa, take raw meat mishiva bate, from 6-7 houses. V'leitvina neale b'tzinura dedasha, and put them next to this person by the socket of the door. The b'tzinura dedasha, we're going to see this later also, it's the hole in the door where the bolt goes in. V'nichlinu b'kilkule demata, and have him. Second, let me just, sorry, it's going to be hard to translate all these things. I might have to check here and there. Right, he should eat this. Let me just make sure I did this all right. They say the dog, right, say the dog is old, the rooster's foolish. Then he takes, right, the meat from the houses, right, this is raw meat, and they leave it for him in the socket of the door. Then let him, right, then he just eats them in the junkyard of the city. Okay, this raw meat. And then, Batar hachi lifshot shudra barka v'nevu hachi. Okay, then you should untie the rope after he did all this. Remember, he's still tied to the dog. Untie the rope and say the following: Sharire deploni bar plonita, this blindness that this person has, you know, so-and-so, so-and-so. This is like an incantation, they say. Shavkinu leploni bar plonita, let it leave this person. And now you can see why he was tied to the dog. V'licharu lekalba, and have it go into the pupil of the eye of the dog. Okay, basically, this is a way of, again, how they did it and why, but the concept is let's have the dog take the illness off the person. Okay, well, I don't know why we're making the dog go blind, but I don't even know if the dog does go blind, but it's an incantation that the idea is let's try to transfer it to something else. The shavrire di yamama. What if you have blindness during the day, which seems to be the bright lights make you, you see bright lights, it's hard to see. Lete shiva sumake, take 7 either pieces of red meat, or some people say spleens, migava dechiyuta, from inside the animal, an animal. In other words, take this meat or the spleen from an animal. Nitvinu, roasted a hasbadu mana, on the shard of the bloodletter. He should sit inside the house, someone else should sit outside the house. Avira, And the blind person should say, Havli de'echol, bring me to eat. V'neim aleheach de pticha, the one who can see, who's outside, should say, Sav echol, come eat. Ubatar de'achil, then after he eats this meat that they took from the animal, litabre lachasba, they should break the shard of the bloodletter that they roasted it on. De'ilo hadre ilave, if you don't do this, it will come back. Lidama da'ati minachira, if you have nosebleeds. Okay, again, what we can identify here with is the diseases. It might be much harder to identify with the remedies. Leite Gavra Cohen, this is even weirder, Deshmei Levi. Find a Cohen whose name is Levi. I guess his first name is Levi. Lichtov le Levi lemafreya. Write it backwards, Yud Vav Lamed instead of Lamed Vav Yud. V'ilo, if you don't do this, or this doesn't work, right? Every time we have elo, if that doesn't work, try this. Or if you can't do that for whatever reason, like you can't find a Cohen who's named Levi, so Leite Inish Me'alma, just find anyone, V'nichtov le, and write the following to him. Ana pape shila bar sumake lemafreya. We're going to write those words, Ana pape shila bar sumake, backwards. V'lo, if not, lichtov lehachi, write him the following. Tam deli b'mei kesef, tam deli b'mei pgam. The taste, again, I'm just going to translate these words. The taste of a bucket in silver water, and the taste of a bucket in ruined water or bad water. V'ilo, if this doesn't work, leiti ikara d'asfasta, take a root of fodder. V'ashla depuria atika, the rope from an old bed. They used to tie the beds together with ropes. You might remember from other sugyot we saw. V'kurtisa umorika v'sumaka de luvita, some paper kind of substance, and saffron, and the red part of a palm tree, and miklinu bahadi adade, roast all that together. V'leite gevava de amra, take pieces of fleece from the wool, woolly fleece. Nigdil tarte petilta, spin it into 2 threads. Belitmish bechala v'nigadbel. It's hard to even say these words. Soak it in vinegar, challah is vinegar, and roll it. Bekit mahadin. In other words, what happened? Let's just try to remember. You took all these substances, you roasted them together. Then you spun the wool into strings. Then you take the strings and you soak them in vinegar, roll them in the ashes from what you had cooked before, and put it up in the nostrils, each string into each nostril, and that will resolve your nosebleed problem. V'lo, if that doesn't work, or you can't do that, find a channel of water that's going east to west. Stand with kind of the channels going this way, right, one way, and you stand basically facing, I guess, either, it doesn't matter whether you face the east or the west, but like one side straddled on either side of this channel. V'nishkol tina biyade, take a piece of clay go down into the water, take some clay, the bottom of the water is kind of clay-like. Biyade diyamina, mitote kari d'smola, sorry, how did I read this? Right? Nishkol tina biyade diyamina, mitote kari d'smale, ubiyade d'smale mitote kari diyamine. In other words, take in your right hand a clod of the clay from underneath the left leg, and take from the left hand a clod of clay underneath the right leg. Vinigdol tarte ptilta de amra, spin again 2 strands from wool. Vinitmish, again, soak, betina, soak it in the dirt this time, in the clay. Vineta benachire, and then put those threads into your nostrils. Vilo, if not this, we have more alternatives. Lativ to take marzava, go under a gutter where the water's coming out. V'netu maya, put water through the gutter. Lishtu aleh, have it pour all over him. The lemru, and then when it stops, say the following: just like the water stopped pouring out. This one actually seems at least the most reasonable. It seems a little silly, but it's not like it would work. But it does have this concept of, the water stops, and likewise we want the blood to stop. It's kind of this idea of the water streaming out of the gutter. It's likewise the blood streaming out of the nose, and it should stop for this person, the son of this person. Okay. If you have bleeding in your mouth, but kinale, they want to figure out where is it coming from. So, they check with straws of wheat. Isrich, if it sticks to the straw of wheat, the blood, then you know mereakate, it comes from the lungs. And then there's a resolution how to fix it. Below, mikavdekate, if not, it comes from your liver. If it's, I guess, maybe a thinner blood that doesn't stick, Then, I don't know if it's thinner necessarily, but not sure, but for whatever reason, if it doesn't stick to there, maybe, then late takanta. It's coming from the liver and there's nothing to do about it. Now, Amar le Rabashi says, wait a minute. Vahana, now we get a little bit of a Gemara-like type sugya, which is, wait, but it says somewhere else, and we're going to talk about an animal that's a treifa, that it is going to die, right? A sign that the animal is going to die soon. Talking about the different signs, it says, in a Mishnah, it says the opposite. The liver is only a problem if there's nothing left in the liver at all. Whereas the lung, it's already a treifa if it just has a hole or it's missing a little bit of it. Whereas the kaveh, the liver, is only a problem if the entire liver's out. So here you see that the liver is actually more manageable to deal with some sort of problem than the lungs. So why do we say the lungs is there's a cure and the liver there isn't? Since it's coming from his mouth, it must be completely dissolved the liver, and then if the liver totally gone, there's nothing really we can do about it. So now let's go back, and they said if it comes from the lung, we got distracted by this question, but let's go back to the main thing. You can fix it. How so? My takante. Lete shiva kone, take 7 handfuls mi pirma de silke from slices of beets. Vishiva kune pirma de carte, and 7 handfuls of slices of leeks. Vechamisha kune preda, and 5 handfuls of type of grass called preda, and tlata kune de talpake, and 3 handfuls of lentils. Vikuna de kmona, we're not done yet, handful of cumin. Kuna de chavle, a handful of ropes. Now we're getting out of the food area and spices. Uchenegdan kanta de ptirta, the intestine of a peter, like a peter rechem, like a firstborn of an animal. The intestines, v'liv shal v'lechol, and then you cook all this up. Sounds pleasant. V'lechol, and you eat it. V'lishte, if you think this sounds not so appealing, wait till we get to later ones. And then this actually doesn't sound bad. This actually had normal foods in it, right? It had beets, it had lentils, it had leeks in it. Okay. Then lishte abatre shichra charifa de teve. You then drink beer that's very strong and very good. Okay, some people say tevet it was cooked in the month of tevet, but unlikely. Tevet from tavat, like tav, good. Okay, lekacha for teeth. Right, the only way to deal with these sugyas in my mind is just to kind of try to get through them quickly and try to explain them as best as I can. Hopefully I'm not tripping up on any words and explanation. Hopefully you won't be actually doing these at home. So if I do make a mistake, I hope it's okay. Anyway, I'm trying my best. Take an individual, again, we have a problem with your teeth. Take an individual clove of garlic, grind it up, grind it up with oil and salt, nitve atorfe, put it on your aliona. Some people explain this, put it on the nail of your thumb, some sort of one of your nails, dahu gisa dechayavle, on the side of your body where it hurts, right, the side of where your mouth hurts, on the right, let's say, so put it on your right hand, thumbnail, unahadir le gadafa delisha, but also surround it with a rim of dough. You don't actually want it to be on your finger directly because it might actually cause damage. V'nizdar lebisra, be careful of your flesh; it doesn't touch your flesh. Dekashe lechibara, because it could cause it could cause chibara. Sorry, let me just check that word. What usually means white. Yeah, it can cause boils. Right, that we just had in the story with Rav Sheshet and the boils. Lechinche, if your gums you have an issue. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Humte ki mamru, have chamomile that's like mamru, it's similar to it. V'ikar, we don't know what mamru is, but it's something like chamomile. V'ikar de humte adif mi mamru, if you use the root of this chamomile, it's better than the mamru is. V'nin kot bepume, hold it in your mouth. Hane leukme, levishule. 1 second. Right. This prevents it from growing bigger. Okay, there's things that are preventative from getting worse, and then there's things that actually make it better. So these are leukme. Livashule, okay, if you want to burn them off, then lete pe'eri dereshnapia, take the brand that's at the top of the sieve. Vital pache ba'afrayu, lentils in their dirt, like in the dirt where the lentils, they're still kind of dirty from where they were growing. Vishuvlilta b'chumrata dekushta. You take fenugreek and hops. V'ninkot ka'amgoza b'pume. And you put the size of a nut. That's an amgoza, the size of a nut of this in your mouth. Li'iftuche. If you really want to cure it, then, right, if you want to burn it off, now we have if you want to open it, right? It's kind of like a blister in your mouth. It almost sounds like a mouth sore kind of thing. So what do? Have your friend take a straw of wheat, blow into your mouth this tachle, which is cress, tachle chibarta, white cress, into your mouth. La suke, if you want to entirely heal it, right, not just burn it or kind of pop it, or have it open up, but if you want to heal entirely, lete afra mitula de beit hakisei. If you take dirt from where the shade from the beit hakisei is coming. Now, they used to put stones where they would have an outhouse. So if the stones, like what was shaded from the stones, take the dirt from there. Benigbo beduvsha, knead it in honey. V'nechol dema'ali, and then eat it, because this is good for you. Libarsem, okay, this is barsam is either a very bad cold or a bronchial infection, some sort of maybe respiratory infection. Lete piscata de nishador, okay, take a slice of a slice or a piscata, 1 second. Sorry, a nut-sized portion of nishador, which is ammonia, v'chiamguza de chabonita, and a nut size de chabonita du duvshanita. This is a sap from a particular type of tree. That's why it sounds like duvsh, like dvash, sweet, the sweetened sap, nut size of that. Umale tarvada duvsha chivara, fill a spoonful of this white honey. Umale nat labat mechoza chamra nikida, fill a cup from mechoza, which was a quarter log. Right, that's always our measurement of liquid, of clear wine. Vinishlakinu bahade adade, and cook it all up together. V'chibashal nishader, and when the ammonia is cooked enough, bashale kule, then you know the rest of it is cooked, and then you drink this. This is your medicine. V'ilo, if you don't have this or it doesn't work, later reviata dechava di izachivarte, take a revi, a quarter loaf of the milk of a white goat. Turning now to Amabet, we're getting there. V'nitvia atlat kalpe krava, pour it on 3 stalks of cabbage. V'nivchashe begavza demimrahan, stir it with a sprig from a marjoram bush, marjoram. V'chibashal gavza demirhamin, and when it's cooking, this sprig that you have from this bush, bashale kule, then you know when that cooks up, everything else is cooked, because again, these things take longer to cook, and then you know it's all ready, and then you can eat. Vilo, if you don't want to do this, lete nafka, okay, this is a little gross, nafka de kalba chivara, the feces of a white dog, vinigbo banatva, and mix it with nataf, which is it's balm, vikama de efshal, and as best as you can, now you're supposed to eat this, but as best as you can, nafkalonechel, try not to eat the feces part of it. Okay, you mix it all in, but then try to avoid the feces. I don't know exactly how you do that, but eat more of the balm with the feces yeast in it. I don't know. This sounds really disgusting. Dimifrik, because that will actually, right, this is again how medicine can cause other problems. It's got health value to it, but it also could cause side effects, which is it might cause your limbs to kind of separate and start falling apart, like not, I guess take away the connection between the limbs. Okay, ligira. This is if you have a piercing pain. This is a gira is usually an arrow. So it's like you have shooting arrows in your body. Leti gira de lilita. Okay, this is take the arrows of Lili. Okay, Lili was a known sheda, one of these spirit kind of things. Lili is famous. Anyway, take what this really is it's a stone that was called the arrow of Lilit, apparently. V'nefche, turn it upside down with a sharp point facing down. V'nishte mai ilave v'nishte, and then pour water over it, and then drink the water from there. V'ilo, if that doesn't work. Lete mimaya de ishte minayu kalba balelia, take the water that a dog drank during the night. V'nizdar migiyu luye, but be careful, because water that was left open at night snake often puts their poison in. You can't eat that, so make sure it wasn't water that was left open all night. Ligiluye, what if you, already on this topic, what if you drank water that was open all night and the snake put its venom in it and then you drank it? Drink a lot of undiluted wine. Limorsa, if you have like a pimple type thing. Drink wine with ahal mixing. Okay, it's a type of substance that's a red ahal. Lepircha deliba, if you have heart palpitations. Lete tlak brushiata desare, take 3 loaves of barley. Vinishterinu bechamcha de la avar ilave arba'in yomin. Okay, take this, soak it in a kutach. A kutach, we always know the kutach hababli is this weird kind of dip they used to use, but the kutach is really just a dip. Kutach hababli is the one that gets a really bad rap. This is just some sort of, by dip, I mean like a brine, like a fish brine or something. Which usually is something you prepare for over a period of a long time. So here you have to take one that's more fresh, that hasn't been soaking there or being prepared for 40 days yet, and you eat that. Okay, so again, what did you do? You took these 3 barley loaves, you soaked it in this dip, and then this sauce, and then drink very diluted wine. What are you talking about? This is going to make your heart much worse. Why are you suggesting this? Amarle, Anali Yukra Deliva. He says, oh no, I meant this is for weakness of heart, not palpitations. It's true. This will make your heart palpitate more. It's like what you would do if you have a weak heart, it'll make it work harder. So, in a good way, like it'll strengthen it, so it'll be palpitating more. But if it's already palpitating, you're right. This isn't the right thing. Use the bread from these 3 loaves of wheat, not of barley. Vinishterinu beduvsha, soak it in honey, v'nechol, and eat it. And then drink undiluted wine after you do that. Litzircha deliba, if you have heart pains. Lete tlat be'e ninya, take 3 egg bulks of nana, that's spearmint. Ubiata de camona, and an egg bulk of cumin. Ubiata de shumshime, and an egg bulk of sesame, v'lechol, and eat it. L'ke'ev me, you have intestinal problems. Lete tlat mea pilpulei arita, take 300 long peppers. These are like peppercorns, but long ones. V'chol yomi nishte mea minayu b'chamra, and every day drink 100 of them mixed with wine or soaked in wine. Ravin de Minarash, Avidle the Barte to Rav Ashi, Mehavachamshemehani Didan, he made 150 of these Va'atzia for the daughter of Rav Ashi, and she was actually healed. Likirtza, for worms. Anpaka de Chamra, drink wine, Ba'atrafa da'ara, that was soaked in with alei dafna, with laurel branches in them. Lichirtza chivara, if you have white worms, Lete bizra, take seeds of galgila, which is cress or perhaps rocket. Vinitzaire b'shistag, wrap it in some sort of cloth, like a woolen cloth or woven cloth. Vinitaire b'maya, soak it in water, vinishche, and drink it. Vinizdarmi benita, but be careful with the seeds. Di'i lo v'nach v'lhula ma'ayna, it could actually make a hole in your intestines, so you have to be very careful. Lim mesar, if you have bound bowels, constipation. Sisin ditiva b'maya, okay, you take this is a type of chamomile that's liquidy, okay, like soaked in, it's wet, moist chamomile. Lemishra, if you have loose bowels, then yaveshta b'maya, you take dry chamomiles and soak them in water. So either moist chamomile soak in water or dry chamomile soak in water, depending on whether it's constipation or the opposite. V'simanech, how do you remember which is which? Because you can see people might get confused. Itza retiva, that's wet grass, desahar nara, is used to dam up a river. So what do you see here? If you want to stop things from when they're Isa retivta desacher. Right. So the wet is going to, that actually is the opposite. That would mean it causes it to be sachar nara. 1 minute. Let me just figure this out. This means it's used to dam rivers. Right, the moist is used for the diarrhea. So didn't it say the opposite? wet grass. Through this, he'll remember the moist chamomile is used to stop diarrhea, but it's the opposite. The dry is used. 1 minute. Dry chamomile soaked in water. That's strange. I'm confused here. Oh, that's why. Okay. I confused it. Okay, let's start again. Lemesar is to bind the bowels, not if your bowels are bound. That was my mistake. If you want to cure diarrhea specifically, lemesar is to cause the bowels to bind, to be more constipated. Then you want to become constipated more. So you use the wet. And that's what the thing comes to say. And lemishra is to loosen them. That was my mistake. Okay, next, litchala. Or if you have a problem with your spleen. So what do? Lete shev bine, take 7 leeches, demaya, that live in the water, vinibshinu betula, niyabshinu, dry them out in the shade, again, not with sunlight. Bechol yom nishte tarte utzlata bechamra. Every day drink 2 or 3 of these in water. Okay, wait, okay, let's stop for a second. You're drinking leeches. Leeches are creatures. How can you possibly drink leeches? So we're going to have to ask this question and try to figure out what's going on here. Then the Gemara doesn't actually say anything about this. So in order to figure out what the story is, so I looked into it in the Shulchan Aruch. And in fact, the Shulchan Aruch says, basically, if you have a sheretz saruf, this is in Yoredei Siman Pedalet, see if you zayin, a sheretz saruf mutar le'ochlo mishum refuah, the afar ba'alma. First of all, if you burn a sheretz, a creepy crawler, then you're allowed to eat it for medicinal purposes, because it's just like afra. Like once you burn it, it really turns to nothing. And it could be that this dried out leech basically all crushes up into pieces, and it's really nothing. But even more interesting, if you look at Yoredei in the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Nun Hey, so the Shulchan Aruch starts off and says, so first of all, if you're in danger, life danger, of course you can use any kind of isur, even derech hanatan, even if it's like a delicious drink that you're enjoying, you're allowed to do, as opposed to, let's say, medicine, which is grind up, it doesn't taste like anything. If it's not dangerous, okay, so if it's the way you're enjoying yourself, then it's forbidden. But if it's not enjoyable, then it's actually permitted. Other than, there's a few things you're not allowed no matter what, which is kilei hakerem and basar b'chalav, milk and meat, and if you have mixed things that grew together, those are forbidden even shelo b'derech hana'ah, even b'mkom sakana, you can't even eat them. Then the Rama adds and says the following: Kol isur midrabanan mutar litrapo b'hem, even chole she'en bo sakana. Okay, any forbidden things on a Rabbanan level you can obviously use, even if you're not this. Okay, then he says, I just want to find the line I wanted here. Then he says the following, and this is where it gets, I think, interesting. So basically, what they all seem to say is it's permitted for medicinal purposes, even if it's usur. Like, let's say you take pig and something that you really can't eat, but if you turn it into medicine and you're not enjoying it, okay, again, life, death threatening, no matter anything. If it's not life-threatening, then as long as you're not enjoying it, you can use it as part of your medicine. Okay, you're not eating it in a way that one would be considered enjoyment. Even if you personally aren't enjoying it, that doesn't make a difference. Anyway, but he says the following. If you're going to do this, there's 2 issues. Number 1, all you have to have it either known that this actually works. It has to be tested, tried and tested, and people know, or some specialist needs to tell you. The aim is, it's not like you can just decide on my own, oh, maybe this is good medicine, let me use it. It has to be tried and tested. And he also says if there's a way to do it behetel, then we don't permit it either. So it's very interesting. Here's the part that I wanted to get to in terms of practical. Halacha l'maaseh, if you need a medication that has something that's not kosher in it, are you allowed to use it or not? Okay, let's go on. If this doesn't work for you, this thing about the leeches, the dried leeches, then lete tachla ditzvirta delo itpa, take the spleen of a female goat that hasn't, that her womb isn't opened yet, nitchaye betanura, throw it in the oven, v'noke lahade v'nema, stand nearby and say, just like this, right, you took out the spleen of this animal and you throw it into the oven, and then you say, just like this spleen is now drying because it's drying in the oven, So should the spleen of this person be healed. And then basically the whole idea is dried out, you really want. The idea is that it dry, once it dries out, spleen sometimes, when you have no choice, you can remove a spleen, people can survive, but then it causes possible complications. But it seems like you're trying to just make the spleen useless in your body rather than creating problems in your body. If that doesn't work, throw the spleen in between bricks of your house, of a new house, a new house, and say the same incantation you just said and have it kind of dry there. If not, go find a person who died on Shabbat, take his hand, put it on your spleen, and say the following, just like this hand dried, dead body, it's a little bit weird. Interesting to think that we can use dead bodies to actually help us with disease. If not, Nete benita, take a fish called a benita. It's a type of fish. Vinitvia, roast it benafra, roast it in a blacksmith's in his place. Vinichle b'maya de benafra, take the water where he cools off his utensils, cook it in that water, dip it in that water. Vinishte b'maya de benafra, and then drink the water of the blacksmith. He is Iza. This is a parenthetical statement. There was an is to have a shakya maya. We're already talking about this water. So he drank the blacksmith's water. When we slaughtered it, we didn't find the spleen inside anymore. So you see that this was proven that it actually caused the spleen of this animal to kind of, I guess, just what's the word? Like fall apart, and dissolve. That's the word I was looking for. Ve'ilo, if that doesn't work, lift up chavita de chamra l'shmei. Open a bottle of a barrel of wine for the sake of this person. Amar Rav Acha bar Rava Rav Ashi, he said, lechavita de chamra lo ati lekamei. And by the way, right, open this for him and let him drink it. So then, now the point is, this is like a good wine, and only wealthy people have this kind of wine. So he says the following. He says, if he had a chavit like that of wine, he'd have drunk it and he wouldn't have spleen problems, because drinking a lot of wine prevents you from spleen problems. So lo ati kamei damar, he never would have come in front of you with this problem. Therefore, what he's basically saying is, what's the cure though for people who are poor and can't afford this and are going to get sick with spleen problems because they don't drink so much wine? You should have bread every morning. That's good in general, for your health, and will help your spleen as well. Okay, lerush cheta, for hemorrhoids. Lete akika ve'ilva, take acacia wood and aloe. Ve'aspirka, mercury. Umertaka, silver dross, like the solet, the bad stuff that comes when you're preparing the silver. Ve'chumrata de pilon, and this is these spices that people will wear around their necks. Vishiapa de hamamita. This is the shiafa de hamamita. Sorry, I forgot what this one is. Right. This is the feces of pigeons. Okay. V'ninkut b'shachke de kitana b'kaita, and put it in a piece of b'shachke in bags that are made of linen in the summer, and de amar gufna b'sitva, and put it in bags made of wool in the summer. In the winter. V'ilo, if not, lishte shichramar, could drink very diluted wine, and that will help you. Okay. I'm just trying to think. You put them in these bags, and then what do you do with them? Yeah, 1 second. I'm not sure what we do with those bags. Right. You put them in the bags, and then you just kind of sit on them. You put them where it's bothering you, the hemorrhoids, and you sit on them, and that should help cure you. That's the idea. Okay. Tov. Lishiglona. This is for rheumatism, okay? And particularly, it seems like rheumatism in your legs. Lete patya, take a vessel, dimomini, with sardines in it, unigdere, and roll it shitin zimne, 60 times, aha mitachte, on the affected area, on your thigh. The shitin zimne aha mitachte, and 60 times on the other thigh, and that should help your bone problem, right? Your rheumatism. Litzmirta, for bladder stones. Nete tzlat nitufaita, 3 drops of mishcha de kufra, of a type of oil, a tar oil. Utlat nitfuyata, 3 drops of itzra de carte, squeezed out liquid from leeks. Utlat nitfuyata, 3 drops de chamer nikida, clean wine, like a clear wine. And everybody puts it, the man in his private parts and the woman in her private parts. V'ilo, and if this doesn't work, because it's bladder stones, v'ilo, lete una dezika, take the handle of the wine sack, and have the man hang it in his private parts and the woman on her breasts. V'ilo, if not this, lete chuta dezihiruta, a crimson string, deshadite duma bat duma, that was spun by a zonah, the daughter of a zonah, like some sort of suspicious woman of someone we don't really trust in terms of her behavior. Interesting, we would take this red string from her. Okay, this sounds a little more like a witchcraft type thing, right? And you hang it there, the man in his private parts and the woman on her breasts, and that will take this problem away. These are the bladder stones. Ve'ilo lete kina de zacharu nikeva. This seems like a kina, like a lice bug or something that was either, I would take one from a man and one from a woman. It sounds like the man gets the one that was from a man and the woman gets the one from a woman, and you put it again in their private parts. And when they go to the bathroom, nashtin, in other words, when it comes out, they should urinate on a branch, this is a little weird, on a dry branch in the door pivot, like in that hole again that we were talking about before. And then the idea is that we want to have it, the stone to look at, because it actually helps heal fever, which leads us to fever. Litzimra bara, if you have an outer fever, I guess this means your body's hot on the outside. Lete tzlat agrive souffle, 3 se'ahs worth, it's a measurement, right, that we've seen a lot, of date pits. Utzlat agrive atraf, and 3 se'ah of this atraf adra, which are leaves from this eder tree, which is possibly an eder tree, type of oak tree. V'nishlokinu kochad l'chude, cook them each separately. V'leita benai, you first sit the person in between the 2 pots, then litvinu betarte mishichle, put them each into a different basin. It's not the one it was cooked in. But keep them separate. V'nete petura v'nana halilave, put a table on top of them. A table is really just like a piece of wood that was, something like that. You basically move from one, sitting on top of one, to sitting on top of the other, to back and forth until your body gets hot and it kind of gets the heat out of you. Like you start sweating, you break a sweat. When you drink from this water, you should drink the water from the eder, but don't drink the water from the date pits, mishum demi akra, because it causes people to be sterile. So be very cautious not to drink that. Litzimra gava, last one for today. For this fever that's on the inside of your body, like that was an outer fever, this is an inner fever. Lete shiva bune, 7 handfuls. This silka of beet leaves, mishev mishare, from 7 faros, 7, I guess, different faros. V'nishlekinu ba'afayu, cook them in their dirt, v'nechol, and eat them. V'nishte atraf adra b'shikra, and eat this mixture of, drink it together with this, put the eder leaves that we have from this tree into beer, o inve tala b'maya, or grape leaves that Rashi explains that actually were traipsed over a palm tree, and that in water. Okay, so drink one of these concoctions and that will help you. Okay, I'm not going to review this daf because I don't think we need to remember all these things. I hope it was clear enough. Here were the translations anyway. More sense of it than this I can't really make, although we did get to one important ramification, that you actually can use medicines if you really need, that have non-kosher ingredients in it if there's nothing else. And if you're not eating in a way that's actually pleasurable, if it's more like in a pill, right, that there are ways that one can do that. But anyway, you have a lot of, I would say, food today to think about all sorts of medications. Maybe someone who's a pharmacist here will be able to make more sense out of this stuff than I did. anyway, and like I said, we don't believe in these things anymore nowadays. Not just that I don't believe in them, but almost all the poskei halacha say, right, we don't take halacha out of this and we don't start using these things at home. So with that, we'll finish for today. Wishing everyone a great day.